What's good people, it's JayCactus here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a video game type trap beat. I haven't used any samples in the actual beat, but I did use some dialogue from the old school game Tenchu on PlayStation 1, Tenchu Stealth Assassins, which is probably one of the sickest PlayStation games. So I thought it would be cool if you guys could download all of the sound effects and dialogue from the game. So I've put a link to the sound pack in the description below. It's everything that I've put together and you can download it through my Beatstars account completely free. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing to focus on is sound selection. So because we want it video game style, I chose a synthy sound for the main instrument, which is Fair and Square 2 from Omnisphere. So just some cool synth sound, but we're going to mess with it in the effects later and make it sound a bit different. The second sound was just a bit of an abnormal sound in Omnisphere. We're only going to use this on certain parts as well. And then lastly, just a trumpet from Citrus. Sounds quite basic now, but we're going to add some effects and make it sound sick. And then we've got rim, hi-hat, kick, another hi-hat, open hat, more perks, and an 808, and then some effects which I'm going to get into later. So the first thing I wanted to do was play around with some chords and try to find something that sounds good together. I wanted the track to come out a bit energetic, nothing too dull or miserable, so I went for a major scale and I went for D major. So the first thing I did was play around with some chords and try to find something that worked well together. So once I laid some chords down, I came up with this. And then I played around to try to find some counter melody notes. And then I came up with this. I was just filling in the gaps. See, already it's got that video game style, but you know, we're going to turn it into a trap beat, so we're going to give it a nice twist. So the first effect I added was Decimo with a preset called Perfect Cut, and that made it sound like this. It just took some of the highs off, it filtered it a bit. I adjusted the dial a little bit as well to around about 11 kilohertz. And then I tried halftime on it just to see what it sounded like, but I didn't like it too much. But when I just added a subtle amount, around about 15–16%, it sounded like this. And that just gave it a nice underlayer. I also added an EQ to take out some of the lows because I knew an 808 was going in there. And then for the second melody, I just added some of the bass notes from the main melody just to give it some extra sauce, so that sounded like this. And then I went straight to the mixer and took out some of the lows and just an annoying frequency I could find. Again, added some Decimo. That was with the same preset as well. I just wanted to go for that filtered sound for these ones. And then took out even more lows because I could still see some cutting through. And then for the trumpet in Citrus, I just added a couple notes, again following that same bass note pattern, but it just added more to it, and I only wanted to use this for the chorus, so together that sounded like this at first. But I thought the trumpet was quite harsh, so I added the same Decimo preset. I don't always use this, but I liked the vibe that it gave. And then some reverb. With the reverb, I wanted to push it more into the background, which is why the wet's up quite high. And then again, just some EQ to save room for the 808s. And then instead of the usual clap for trap beats, I wanted to add a rim shot. It kind of sounds like a clap in a way. So next was the hi-hat pattern, which was really simple for the first one. But then I added a second hi-hat, which sounded like this. I just messed with the velocity a little bit, just so it's a bit more natural. It just gave it more of a bounce. And then the open hi-hat. And then next was the kick. Changed some of the notes and then messed with the velocity a little bit. With the perk that I used, I just like to fill in any space just to add more bounce. So I don't like the perks and the claps and the kicks and everything to hit at the same time, because you'll notice on the mixer channel that things start clipping easily then. So I tried to give everything its own space, and the perk definitely added more bounce. And then of course we needed the 808. So for the 808 pattern, I kind of followed the kick pattern, but adjusted some of the notes. I chose quite a distorted 808 because it just fit nicely in this track. And then I found this cool effect that I wanted to add in, just at the beginning, so that sounds like this. That adds just even more bounce, I think. So the most important thing is leveling. Sometimes I just bring everything down and then gradually bring each element up until you're happy with that leveling, until it sounds right. And then as long as you're using quality sounds in the first place, there shouldn't be a reason why you need to mix it too much, because everything is already EQ'd and compressed for you. So most of the time I'm just cutting out some space for other elements, but it all just depends on what kind of track you're making. So you can see that most of the things I'm using just have an EQ on it. The kick was just side chained to the 808. Again, EQ for the hi-hat and the open hi-hat and the perk. The limiter there is for the side chaining, which I'm not going to go into. And then the only other things that I added was some dialogue from the Tenchu game, Stealth Assassins. So that's the pack that I've included, which includes all the sound effects and dialogue. And I don't know, it just fit perfect in it. So let me play it with the dialogue.
What? Who are you? I'm here
I just added some reverb to this.
The innocent people you've hurt. Somebody help! Get him! Get him!
And then for the intro, a nice easy way to let the beat drop is just to add some of the elements just before the drop. So I just had everything on here, but then I brought some of it down and I just played around with it just to see what sounded good.
Innocent people you've hurt. Somebody help!
So maybe about here.
People you've hurt. Somebody help!
Without this.
Get him! Get him!
And maybe bring the kick back a little bit.
Innocent people you've hurt. Somebody help! Get him! Get him!
And then something like that is just a sick way to drop the beat. And then you can see for the rest of the arrangement, I just took out some of the counter melodies in the verse, brought everything back for the hook. I only added a fade out at the end and then more dialogue in the middle, which is a bit of a bridge. So after the first chorus, I had this.
The enemy will be skillful and ruthless. You must be prepared physically and spiritually. You must focus. You must train hard and train well.
And then the final piece of dialogue after the last chorus. So I've got the last chorus here and then a bit of a bridge before the final chorus again, but that just fades out.
destroyed you. And your master Mayo is next.
And then the only thing I added to the master channel was the stealth limiter. I like this limiter because it sounds a bit like a soft clipper. It doesn't compress it too much. Well, it does compress it, but you don't really hear the same effects as like a brick wall limiter. It doesn't really squash the sound. And then the only other thing I kept on the master channel was Z-Game Editor, because this is what I use for all of my YouTube videos. I won't go into it today. If you want a full tutorial on that, then let me know. But this is just something simple so I can upload it straight to YouTube after. But I'm going to play the full beat for you so you can hear everything. And that's it for this video. It was just a quick, simple one today. I made this beat and I loved it, and I just wanted to show you guys what kind of techniques I used and what my sound selection was like. I've never really gone for this style of beat before, but I think it turned out pretty sick. So I hope you liked the beat, and if you did, then please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because again, I'm dropping content every week. And the sound effects kit for Tenchu Stealth Assassins with the dialogue is in the description below. That's a free download for you.
JayCactus.
What? Who are you?
I'm here to avenge all the innocent people you've hurt.
Somebody help! Get him! Get him!
The enemy will be skillful and ruthless. You must be prepared physically and spiritually. You must focus. You must train hard and train well.